Hello, loves. Oh, I'm so honoured to have a dear sister of mine, Joy Maziar, who is one of the first women that I met when I moved to Ubud, maybe almost 4 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. And Joy for me she's just pure love and pure joy. And when she said yes to giving this interview, I was like, wow, I want to talk about so many things. So many things. And self-love is one of the things that, like, I just know that you are such a champion of. So that's yeah, I really want to talk about that today. And I also want to talk about these incredible new offerings that you are putting out into the world, as you are like one of the most wise, accomplished, humble, approachable, feminine embodiment coach and mentor that I've ever worked with and know. You have so many strings in your bow that you're able to bring in, so many beautiful tools that you can share, these ancient wisdoms, and you weave them into these modern day practices. It just gives me goosebumps. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Rebecca. This is such an honor. And for those of you who are watching, it's Rebecca and I. We met. It's been like 2 years ago. Yeah, it feels
Mm,
like yesterday.
I know.
And yeah, it's such an honor. And this is the most important information we should be sharing with others in this time.
Mm,
Is about self love. Is about self care. Is about the feminine power.
mm.
So thank you for having me.
Thank you, darling. Um, Questions that I invite every woman that comes onto these sacred conversations in the beginning, so as we can weave a synchronicity through this series, is about our first menstrual moment. And I'm wondering if you can remember that, and how was that for you?
Wow. This is such a potent question because it wasn't pleasant.
Hmm.
And it was another moment in time where I will never forget that I was imprinted that I should be this should be shameful, this should be scary, and no one was there to hold me through it. And I got my moon. I call it moon. Maybe you call it period, but the moon is. I feel that everyone should call it moon. Um, and I was 13, and I was in the locker room, and my stepsister was around, and I was just frantic, like, what's happening? And like, this is happening. And she just was like, oh, well, here's a pad. And I was just so embarrassed.
Hmm.
And I went into the bathroom and I put the pad on, and I was just like, what do I do? How do I figure this out? And then I went home, and I didn't even know how to express, anything. So I actually, this is very vulnerable information. I ended up stealing tampons from my stepmom because I was so ashamed to ask to get the stuff that I needed because I didn't have a real, like, it's a long story, but my stepmom wasn't present, and she wasn't available, and actually was very abusive. So I didn't feel safe to actually connect with her. But it was definitely, filtered through societal of, like, not being educated in the school system around our moon cycle and what happens as a woman and how we, get developed and all those things. And so I was stealing these things because I just was so scared to ask because I was so embarrassed. And she found out and was like, why don't you just ask me? And I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just, and so of course it was like a really interesting space. But then of course I ended up, receiving what I needed. But that was a really big imprint in me that I, feared this part of self. And
Wow.
um, yeah, and then, obviously things shifted for me, but it, you know, I'm sure others can relate
Mm,
that, at that age, if you're not educated, what happens is you immediately feel embarrassed or ashamed or shameful. And, other children, that I, even my nieces now, like they were fully educated and talked about. And I'm so grateful that that is changing. But at that time in my life, it definitely wasn't something that you talked about.
mm, yeah. Wow, thank you. It is a super vulnerable share. I appreciate that. And the shame is something that comes up a lot with women that I'm talking with, and some of it is such a it's a surprise to me. Just it's a shocking surprise how many women felt shame around their first bleed. And so it makes me wonder, like, how do you feel like this first imprint, if you like, of shame? Because we're so open and we don't know these things until we do the work, right? Just how open we are, and that every thought and feeling that comes up for us in that very vulnerable state of being so open on our moon, we do carry it in an imprint. And I'm wondering, how do you feel this moment affected your relationship with your moon later in life?
Well, it definitely just kept me in kind of like the secrecy and the
Mm,
lies, and I wasn't open with, even either my partner or, um, you know, other people or whatever. It was just never talked about. It was very just,
mm,
that's just something you just don't talk about. And so as I grew older, of course, things shifted for me. Around 25, I started to kind of, that's when I really started to understand and take ownership and want to learn more. But it's only up until maybe 3 years ago that I've really consciously been like, working with, um, yeah, like my cycle, and actually activating it and using the blood as medicine, and knowing, understand the magic with it. But it definitely had affected me in my early 20s, and I just never really shared much about it, and I didn't have the desire either. I
mm,
just felt like it wasn't important. I just
mm,
didn't, and then there was times too where I would, like, yeah, I'll never forget, like, there were times in my partnership that, I even though I was, my womb, even though I could hear my womb saying no, I still have intercourse at times when I was on my womb, on my moon.
yeah.
So that affected me because I was just like, I just want to make sure that, that, I mean, there's other parts of like that, um, what's the word, that feeling of like wanting to please your partner,
Mm,
and wasn't really listening to the womb. And so I would just please my partner, even though, um, she
wow.
was definitely a no.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Thank you. So something I share in my course that I'm facilitating at the moment. And we actually just had this conversation around um, your moon time. And I'm pleased you said about the word period too. Circling back to that, I don't like to use that word because to me it means it's got a stop. A period is it's a stop, right? And it's like a moment in time, but we're always cycling as cyclic women. So yeah, this love making or putting anything maybe not so organic inside ourselves, especially at this time, for me, it's like interfering with the flow, because we're flowing, it's spiraling down our energy. And when we're bringing anything that's coming up, there's a, yeah, a little bit of a crash in the energetic workings of the feminine way. So thank you for
Of
sharing.
course.
Yeah. What are some of your I guess noontime rituals, or the self-love rituals that you share and you teach? Um, whether it be in your workshops or one-on-ones, we'll get to that in a minute, but just the ones that you feel are so incredibly valuable that every woman must know.
I love this topic so much because
There's so much.
Like, it's a celebration. It's like it's a permission slip to fully come into the cocoon and really integrate everything and feel the clearing out. So usually my moon is actually now in sync with the new moon, and it was always with the full moon. Now it's with the new moon, and I love it. It's so much, I feel so much more lighter with the new moon, but it's taken me a while to sync back. So some of what I would normally do, the ritual for the full moon, is a clearing, a purging, and doing, writing exercise and burning. But for me, actually, now I have a womb journal that I journal with my womb every day. And so during those, it's about 3 days is my cycle now. It used to be like 7 days, but when you start to really feed your womb, you heal the womb, you do the work, it's lighter. It's supposed to be lighter. So now it's 3 days, and I definitely I just listen in. It's a deep rest. It's a rest and restoration. So I tend to just turn off, I don't do much on social media. I spend time alone in nature. I go possibly to the ocean or take lots of baths, flower baths, essential oils, and all the magic. I love it. I want to share before my cycle. I end up actually doing Mayan abdominal massage, which I teach with my clients. And this sets up for the cycle. It sets up for, realigning the uterus so it can actually flow. There's less pain and things like that.
So Mayan abdominal massage. Okay. All right. I might pop that in the description of this video so anyone that's wanting to know more can connect with you about that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
could go on and on about that because that's such a powerful practice that every woman should know about and learn, because it is the essential. I mean, there's so many different elements and different reasons of why our moon cycle can be very heavy. It can be very painful. It can be very moody. It's all about a disconnection. It's all about the stagnation. It's all about the misalignment of the actual uterus. Is it posterior? Is it anterior? Is it, crunched because of all the toxic waste, So it's really important to learn how to reconnect back with your body. So the massage really stimulates all of the stagnation and helps things go, more fluid. Another thing is that I sometimes like to possibly eat very light just before my moon. I don't do any fasting on my moon. I do actually have some type of protein. If it's like, I don't eat usually animal product, but I tend to focus on nourishing foods like home cooked khichdi, or I have, just a lot of different proteins that really nourish me. So recently I have actually implemented fish, and she wants it and I listen. And so, I'm just nourishing. I'm gaining that vitamin B12, and blueberries are a really good one. Oh, one thing I have to share. Sorry, I'm excited. I drink the most potent red elixir tea that a dear sister of mine makes, and it's for premenstrual. It's for when you're on your moon, particularly, and it looks like blood when it's brewed, and you steep it for the whole night, and you sip it throughout the day when you're on the moon. And all of the symptoms, pain, it just dissolves a lot quicker whenever you have any.
Oh, great. I want to talk to you more about that. Yeah. I also want to talk to you about something that you've been working on, which is super exciting. It's sovereign. sovereign wise woman, which is like it's just coming back to sacredness and ceremony. I think like the whole full beingness of woman, and you've created something really unique about this. What can you share? Is it a sneak peek, or is it out there in the world already, Joy? Because I want to know more.
Yeah, it's out there in the world. I've worked with a few women already. Right now I'm working with two women for a 3-month journey. Yeah, I've definitely worked in groups and retreat settings and such, but what really makes me come alive is working one-on-one with clients. These women that feel very stuck or disconnected to their feminine, or having a lot of resentment with the masculine, and they're just not really sure how to navigate that, or they have wounds from the past from their parents, and they're not empowered fully. They haven't fully accessed all of their divine wisdom. So it's very intuitive. I work with a lot of different elements, many different modalities. As you know, I do inner guidance method, which is a self-awakening, self-illuminating process. So taking people through journeys, but the first month is all about healing, clearing, purging, purification. It's foundation for real evolution, to really evolve out of the density and the fears and the illusions. So we go right to the core root of whatever is still kind of unresolved, and then from there we can start to lift you up into practices and connecting to the womb space. So we do a womb ceremony, womb healing, and then teaching you all the different ways in which to actually heal the womb and establish the womb journal, and just different elements. I take you through a yoni egg ritual where I teach you, the massage, the breast massage, the Mayan abdominal massage, and then the yoni egg practice that will it's something that is you get to do on a daily basis or weekly basis that helps women access that deeper wisdom. And then the third month is really a matter of like empowering them into what they're trying to manifest into their life, and really focusing on their own unique, creative force. So, teaching about sacred sexuality and how to actually manifest through that process. And then teaching them herbal medicine. I'm a big fan of, I'm learning more and more about being an herbalist. So, using that, implementing the herbal medicine inside, and then just it's all unique. So it depends on the woman's journey, what they're really intending on. Right now I'm working one woman, she just wants to learn self-love.
And this is why you always come up. Like you are so your namesake, like you are pure joy, and that is self-love to me. And yeah, I can really feel that in you, and everything that you offer is always done from a place of complete reverence, not just to the sacredness of the practice, but this is the piece for me that always I celebrate in you. It's the reverence to the women that you're working with. I really feel that in you. Yeah,
Absolutely. So it's such a pleasure, such an honor to walk with these women, and them to a place where they feel fully sovereign, which sovereign means empowered, and they can let go of those spiral programming and the conditions and all the things that we've been taught to unlearn, and actually access and activate their own superpowers, essentially, and get women, just activating them and getting them to really step into the world and do the things that they've been wanting to do, and letting go of these old patterns and self-sabotage, and just to have conversations with either their parents or beloved, or their one woman, she's been having issues with the stepmom because she's but being able to actually have these difficult conversations in a way that's very empowering, and so they're more confident, and just they essentially have more joy and happiness in their life.
That's so beautiful. I just would love to like dig in a little bit deeper on this one piece around empowering. so many times in the past for myself and there's other women that I've been working with, this term like empowerment, really, how do you feel like if like empowerment to me means like a softening? So is that you can walk forward courageously in your full embodiment of your softness, you know? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, that's the wisdom.
yeah,
And
right.
in order for a woman to access that wisdom of the softness, of the
Mhm.
receptivity, of the knowingness,
Mm,
unfortunately, women, if they have been disempowered, if they feel very, they feel insecure, or they feel a lot of self doubt, and they've been, either manipulated or traumatized from the past, and they have codependency issues, they have to come to a place where, to empower them, they have to find that
mm,
energy of that maybe that powerful rage of life force, maybe, to really step forward. So when I, in the maybe 4 or 5 years ago, one of my mentors said, you, if you don't have a lot of confidence, self-confidence, that you've got to build your confidence back. And so you want to like access what would make you feel like really just, even if it's faking till you make it,
yeah.
saying like, I'm the queen and angels, and you just start to access a higher state. And then from that place, you drop out, because you've got to let go of the ego. um and yeah. Oh no.
Beautiful.
Oh
I
no.
think I think that
Oh, there
you're
you are.
back. Yes. Well, maybe that's a sign from our angels that this is because we've been chatting for a bit now, and like we said earlier, we could just this topic, this conversation, and these beautiful wisdoms that are so ancient and so deeply, deeply encoded in every cell in our body. And as they're awakening and being activated, women like us just get together and like we're just sharing, and we get so excited about these things. So maybe we'll have you back again. But for now, this has been just so beautiful. Like the Mayan abdominal massage, sharing that wisdom. Thank you. Thank you so much. And your moon time stories from when you were a 13-year-old girl are so touching, that so many of our women that tune into these recorded conversations, I'm sure, will be able to connect with that and be inspired by how you've been able to move through that space of shame into now working in the way that you do. It's a absolute inspiration and pleasure to chat with you, Joy. Thank you. And
Yeah,
I will.
thank you so much for.
You're welcome. I will share like some links and ways that anyone can get in contact with you. And don't hang up. I'm going to stop our recording.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.